hardship, inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. 2. That there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other properties in the same zone or neighborhood. 3. That the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And 4. That the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the zoning administrator can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will read the description of the application or the request, and then read reports received from other city departments and other letters or communication from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief presentation or overview of the case and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and any interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak. Again, clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments, if desired, in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. I would like to emphasize that the date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from our Building and Safety Section, Permit Services Center, located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of these speaker forms, which have been provided by the front door, and submit it to our planning assistant. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the zoning administrator's hearing are recorded on tape as part of public record. Our first case is variance 2009-004. Location is 669 Luton Drive. Applicant is Shorig Yepremian. Property owner is David and Elizabeth Wheeler, and our case planner is Jale Kiazand. This is an application for standards variance to allow an addition of 122 square feet and 56 square feet to the mid-level and 66 square feet to the lower level of an existing three-story single-family residence in the R1 low-density residential zone, floor area ratio District 1, and proposed balconies with 26 feet height to the top of the railing cap, located at 669 Luton Drive in the R1 low-density residential zone, described as Lot 76, track number 5319. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments. I have an email, but this is just for clarification of the public notice and all that. Huh?
Right.
Okay. From fire prevention, suggested condition is installation of automatic fire sprinkler system. From engineering section, method of discharge of on-site drainage shall be approved by the city engineer. No drainage from the improved portion of the project shall be allowed to flow onto the adjoining property, but shall be conveyed to the street. And separate permits are required for all work within the public right-of-way, and the applicant shall bear all fees for the necessary permits and construction inspections. Additional requirements may be required after the initial submittal of final engineering plans for plans check. From maintenance services or administration, they have a few recommendations related to the street trees. And they have attached the street tree protection standards, so you can get a copy of that. Okay, no other communications. To give us an overview, Jale?
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. The case before you is a request for 122 square foot of floor area, which includes 56 square foot to the mid-level and 66 square foot to the lower level of the existing single-family residence, which is with 3-story. This also includes proposal for balconies with 26 feet height to the top of the railing. The property currently contains a legal non-conforming 3-story building, and the non-conformity is relative to the excessive floor area ratio, which is currently 0.447, while the code allows 0.3, and also the height, which is currently 35 feet, where the code allows a maximum of 28 feet in the zone. Due to the sharp drop of the site level at the back, the site is more closely resemble R1R zone rather than R1, which is the current zone. The house appears at 1-story on the street, from the street front, and 3-story at the back. The applicant is requesting that to add 122 square foot to the 3,376 square foot of the house. And the subject house is already 1,100 square foot over the permitted size by the current zoning code. Therefore, allowing the addition, however small, will exacerbate the situation. The construction of addition cannot be justified even with a minimal increase in FAR. Regarding the conversion of the crawl space into floor area, staff does not believe there are exceptional circumstances about the lot to justify the increase. However, staff acknowledges that the addition of floor area by conversion of the crawl space would not entail any alteration of the facade and would not add to the visible mass of the building. The proposed enclosed patio railing at 62 feet is 1 foot above that is allowed by the code. There are exceptional circumstances which justifies the small increase or excess in the height. And that is existing building, which is legal and non-conforming, has greater height than the proposed balcony at 35 feet. The balconies and railing will not impact the public welfare because it will only be partially visible from the adjacent street. However, the enclosed nature of the design of the patio makes them appear bulky and very visible from surrounding properties and will add volume to the envelope of the house. Staff believes that all of the findings cannot be made in a positive manner and cannot recommend approval of the project in its entirety. Staff recommend the following: denial of the variance to allow conversion of the lower level crawl space to floor area, which will increase the floor area ratio in residence already exceeding maximum floor area ratio. Approval of the balconies which exceed the height limit with modification to the proposed design. Denial of the mid-level addition of floor area. And this concludes my presentation.
Okay. The zone allows 0.30 for floor area. Is that for the first 10,000 square feet and then 0.10 for
Yes,
every additional?
correct.
So this is, and do you have the total? Okay, the site is how many square feet?
7,500 square foot.
Okay, so they're really limited to just 0.30.
Correct.
Okay, I'll get back with you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
To present the case, Shorig Yepremian.
Yes. Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. Shoik Yepremian Consulting. You have my address and phone number in file. I'm representing Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler. They are here today, this morning, along with the project architect Kurt and Monica Higgins. She will be speaking later on as well. The Wheelers are the current residents of the subject property as well as the property owners. After 21 years of living in this house, they are proposing to make some modifications to make their house more functional and livable. As you can see from the photos as well as the plans submitted as part of the variance application, the house is a 3-story structure. It's a downslope hillside property, even though the zoning of the property is R1, but the property acts more of a hillside lot than R1 flat property. So it is unique in that terms. The proposal includes the following, as Jaleh pointed out. From the top level, which is the street level, as you can see from the photos, it looks like a single-story house. They're proposing to add a deck on the upper level at the rear, which is accessed from the living room. Given the fact that this is a downslope property, the best way to have an open area for entertainment and the residents to enjoy the outdoors is to have some kind of a deck that's accessed from the living room and the dining room. The second level, which is the middle portion of the house, a very small 56 square foot master bedroom extension with a balcony, again located at the rear of the house. You can see at that level, there are some modifications to the interior of the floor, such as converting a bedroom to a bathroom and some closet space as well. And finally, the third level, which is the lowest level, currently includes a utility room and a laundry room. We have included that floor area as part of the overall square footage of the house, but it's a non-habitable area. The only reason we include it as part of the floor area of the house is because floor to ceiling height requirement, and it's considered a floor. But currently, it's non-habitable. And the Wheelers are proposing to convert that floor space to a media room and taking 66 square feet or so from the crawl space to make that room more functional. As you can see, the fact that the house is laid out in a longer dimension, that area at the bottom level is not usable or functional. The only way to make it functional is to add that 66 square feet. And finally, of course, you can see from the plans the deck area connected by a stairway. As part of the application submittal, we have also provided exhibits which showed that back in 1992, the same project was proposed, building permits were pulled, the concrete in the back of the property was poured, but the project was never completed. And again, in 1995, same project was presented, building permits were pulled, but the project never went through. Again, I would like to point out that the proposed additions are all within the parameters or the frames of the existing house. The 66 square foot new floor area is inside the third level or the lowest level. The only extension is the 56 square feet that's being extended from the master bedroom. But again, it's under the deck area of the first level, so it's going to be rarely visible. It's only 4 foot extending out. Please keep in mind also that the house was built in 1933, so some of the rooms need to be brought up to current living standards and make the rooms more functional for the residents. I would like to go over the 4 findings as required. The burden of proof is on the applicant, so I would like to go over those for the record. What are the practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships associated with the project? As I mentioned, that the proposed project is to add approximately 56 square feet of floor area to the mid-level and 66 square feet of floor area to the lower level to an existing 3-story, 3,376 square foot house. Again, if we do not count the lower level, which is 367 square feet, the total house size is 3,006 square feet. The house is a 3-story structure, approximately 35 feet in height, and will remain the same. So there's no change to the height of the structure. The proposal, even though includes the deck area and the staircase, there it's below the 35 feet. The strict application of the code would prevent the property owner in making reasonable modifications to the house, and that's what we're asking. We're asking for reasonable modifications, only 122 square feet. It's not a major addition, to just make the house more functional and livable. The subject property is disadvantaged by the limitations of the code where it was built under previous residential zoning requirements. The floor area ratio factors are difficult to employ in a uniform manner and can pose an unreasonable hardship on properties proposing small additions, which this is. A fixed correlation between lot area and dwelling size would present an impractical difficulty to development of minor additions to dwelling units. Again, I would like to point out that the intent of the floor area ratio code provision is to prevent overbuilding of properties that would create massive, out-of-scale, and incompatible development. This is not the case with this project. The proposed square footage addition is within the interior of the house and therefore does not present any detriment to the neighborhood. Number 2, what is unique about the property involved or the intended use or development of the property? The subject property is approximately 7,750 square feet with 102 feet frontage on Luton Drive. And that, to me, it's very unique because the way the building is laid out, it's long and narrow on a lot that's R1 zoning, but acts more like an R1R property. The overall height of the building will not change due to the proposed addition of floor area. The newly proposed balconies will increase the code-required height by about a foot or two, but will remain below the 35-foot existing building height. The proposed minor alteration to the house's interior and exterior would allow a more functional interior and aesthetically pleasing exterior. We do believe that the proposed design has sensitively addressed mass and scale through ample setbacks, aesthetically pleasing exterior design, and appropriate use of building materials, which are compatible with the surrounding buildings and structure. The project meets the current code requirement for lot coverage, setbacks, landscaping requirements, and so forth. Number 3, why will granting of the variance not be detrimental to the public welfare? We believe that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. The surrounding neighborhood's interior setbacks characteristics are very similar to the premises in question, and the proposed minor addition would maintain the existing open space, thereby preserving the development's existing character. The subject property is located on Luton Drive. As if you have visited the site, it has been developed with similar single-family houses. The proposed addition will not be visible from the public right-of-way. Also, as part of the putting this application together, Ms. Monica Higgins also conducted an open house on May 3rd to invite the neighbors over to the subject property to show the plans, the proposal. They have collected approximately 15 signatures, and I would like to submit that for the record. It also includes the flyer for the open house for the record.
Thank you.
And finally, finding number 4, why will granting of the variance be in keeping with the objectives of the applicable regulations? The granting of the variance is in keeping with the objectives of the applicable regulations and the land use element of the general plan. Again, the intent of the floor area ratio limitation, which is 0.30 in this particular zoning, is to ensure that the development occurs with appropriate mass and scale. That was the intent of the FAR, and is compatible with the neighborhood development. Again, with this project, we do believe that the proposed project provides sufficient code-required setbacks, open space, lot coverage, number of parking spaces are not required to be more. So overall, it meets the intent of the floor area regulations as well as height requirements of the code. That concludes my presentation. Again, the project architect is here as well. If you have any questions about the proposal, and Monica Higgins and the property owners.
Okay. And just for the record, I have 16 signatures in support of the proposed application. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
What I may want to ask is for the architect to kind of walk us through the first, second, and third, because I want to make it very clear where the crawl space is, where the extension is happening, and where the balconies are. So, Mr. Sturgeon. And you can fill out one of these. Oh, you got it. Thank you.
Sure. May we come up and...
Sure, and then you can just introduce yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the existing floor area of the building consists of basic, on the main level, street level, which is basically your living room, kitchen, bedroom behind the existing two-car garage. The proposed addition of the balconies are going to be coming off the living room area in this area here, and it's shown in the proposed plan here, which is just a deck of approximately up to 10 feet additional feet out and about 21 feet in width to create somewhat of a private area for the main level entertainment area.
At the back on the site plan.
This is back here. This is the street here. Site plan, the deck area is back in here, away from the view of the public way. As we go down the next level, we find that you have a smaller balcony, and this is where this 56 square feet of additional space on the middle level is going to take place off the master bedroom, creating the master a little larger. Right now it's a very small little bedroom, approximately about 15 feet by 15 feet or 16 feet wide. And with the addition, it makes the room a little bit more usable, as well as reconfiguring some of the existing space. We had a large storage area over in this area, which now we want to create into a walk-in closet, making the bedroom more functional and usable. Converting one of the bedrooms, this bedroom number 2 here, into a master bath, which currently the home does not have a master bath. For quality of life issues, that would be very desirous for the owners of the property to have, and as well some minor interior changes to the rest of the home. And on the lowest level, we have a very narrow space. It's approximately 8 feet wide and runs the entire length of the house. It is really unfunctional for any type of usable space other than possibly storage. 8 foot wide is, about the size of a small bathroom. So, again, if we could just go addition underneath the house, not making the footprint any larger, of approximately 66 square feet down here in this area, makes the room 12 feet wide by approximately 14 feet for a small media room, television room. And the rest will remain the same. We have a small utility room over here that houses the forced air unit, laundry facilities, etc. The crawl space is the entire space here. This is all under 6 feet in height, hillside condition, where it slopes up to 18 inches along here and then slopes down here to less than 6 feet at this point. This area here is considered to be about 8 feet in height. In this area, we're proposing to put build in structured so it will be less than 6 feet. And in one portion, it is less than 6 feet currently. The design of the balconies or the handrails is matching the existing Spanish architecture of the existing home with open railings that will be in keeping with the motif of the building. The height issues are really code directed from the building department in that with the new implement of the 2007 California Building Code, our handrail height must be 42 inches versus 36, which again places us higher than possibly what was intended in previous designs. But if you have any other questions?
Are you doing anything to the front elevation or facade?
The only thing we're planning on doing on the front of the building is doing some maintenance repairs of eaves, repairing some stucco from water damage, possibly repairing the roof, which has developed some leaks over the years.
Everything will
Will
remain.
match, yes. The same.
Okay. Thank you. So basically, 56 square feet will be added to the master bedroom, and the 66 square feet is down at the crawl space level. That's it.
That's correct.
I have another question for you. I saw that you were doing framing on the lowest level to bring down the ceiling height to less than 6 feet.
That's
Was
right.
that calculated in your area?
No, it was removed.
I know,
from
because
there.
what I'm saying is you're removing some square footage also by lowering the ceiling. And I was wondering if there was like a swap in floor area, because you took away by reducing the ceiling height, and then how many square feet was that versus the 56 or 66 you're adding? Because it may have even out to 0 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanna.
I could probably give you a close explanation of that.
If it was not included in the calculation, then
Yeah, currently, it's not included. But it would be approximately,
how
it's going to
much?
exceed the 66 on the second, on the lowest level,
Right.
and it may be close to compensating for the middle level.
I know. That's what I was thinking. Okay. Thank you very much. I will look into that. Okay. Do we have the owners here, Elizabeth and David? And Monica, are you going to speak? Okay. Monica Higgins.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm Monica Higgins of Renovation Planners. I'm the project manager that's been working with the Wheelers since September to help them ensure a smooth remodel by taking care of crucial details during the planning phase. Shogig had actually mentioned on May 3rd that we held an open house.
That's good.
And we did invite the 112 residences within the 500 feet radius of their home to preview the project in context. All the attendees were provided with an overview of the project. They were shown the existing and the proposed plans, and they were also given a tour of their home so they could actually see the project in context. And those that RSVP but were unable to attend at that time had that same opportunity at a later date. We had 17 neighbors that represented 12 unique households attend either on May 3rd or subsequently, and all of them appreciated the fact that the Wheelers had the courtesy to let them know that this project is something that they were proposing, because ultimately it would impact them during construction, and to make them aware of the project and provide them with an opportunity to see specifically what they were going to do ahead of time, and to ask any clarifying questions they might have or express any concerns if they had any. Of the 17 neighbors that attended, 16 of them fully supported the project via the signatures that we have. And I would say that overall the feedback was very positive, mainly because the people in this neighborhood love this neighborhood, and because the Wheelers have been there for over 21 years and have raised their sons there, they have a deep connection to the neighborhood as well. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Letta Nagel? Letta Nagel.
Hi, Ms. Fuentes. I am actually one of the neighbors who didn't sign when I went over.
Just give me your name and address
Letta
for the
Nagel,
record. Okay.
675 Luton Drive.
Okay.
And because I wanted more clarification on the project.
Okay.
It
Did
was-
we answer your questions?
Certain things have been answered.
Okay.
We did have two concerns. One of them is the privacy from the top balcony and how our privacy is going to be impacted. And the second one was if and how it's going to impact the value of our property, since obviously there are zoning requirements for a reason, and we just want to make sure that obviously we support the best interest of our long-term investment. But the top balcony, the reason we're in the neighborhood is because we enjoy the privacy. And the stairway that they're proposing to put down the side, the top balcony, just the heights, it will obviously come into our privacy areas. And as I said, we enjoy living in the neighborhood. I've actually walked around the neighborhood. The homes, although they are very close together, there is a certain, what I call respectful privacy. And that's what I wish to maintain in my home, just the respectful privacy. So they're the two major concerns that I personally have.
Okay. Let me ask you, are you to the right or left,
We're on the right here.
the next door neighbor?
The next door neighbor, we're the closest, right? We're on
So
the-
you're
Yeah.
facing on Luton, facing the residence, you're on this
Yes.
side? Okay.
And actually, and that brings up a point. The way that our garage is, just one thing that I just would again like to be respectful is that when any work is done, I've noticed that when people come and park, because we're on a bend and it's a blind spot, it's very easy to come over and make it very tight to get into our garage. And so obviously we'd want, I want to bring that up as a point, that obviously we understand that in our neighborhood when anybody has anything done, it is a difficult situation because
Keep
the
the
roads
driveway open.
keep the driveway open. But as I said, I do wish it to be noted and to be looked into carefully about this top balcony and the privacy coming over to our home.
We certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren Garris.
My name is Laurent Gueris, and I live on 675 Luton Drive. Actually, Leta Negol is my wife, and she co-owns this house with me. And so she brought all the...
Can you come closer
Sure.
to the... It's not going to bite you. Just
No.
Yeah, go.
It's my first thing, so I'm a bit
Don't worry.
nervous about
Yeah.
it. So I'm not familiar with that process. But
I
long
just want to make sure the people watching can hear you.
Sure. Long story short, the two concerns that I have are the same as what she brought.
Okay.
Is a privacy issue. I use my jacuzzi on a daily basis. Right now, what's unique about the setup, even though the houses are very close to each other, we have a privacy whenever we are in the garden or whenever I am on my deck, because we have a house has a unique deck which is 50 feet long on 8 foot long. And wherever we are on the deck right now, we have full privacy and a beautiful view of Glendale and the surrounding. And with that balcony and that staircase, now we are exposing her privacy. And that's why we bought this house in the first place almost 3 years ago. So my concern is privacy and also the equity and value of my home. So
Thank you. So I was going to ask that question, you already answered it. You've been there 3 years?
yeah, almost 3 years. It will be 3
3
years
almost 3
in
years.
November. I just want to make a note of something is I was one of the 16 persons who signed that, but I signed it more into an attempt of a sign and sheet to learn about the project. It was not noted at the time, and the house was already out of the zoning, being at 0.44, and they were asking for another variance. That was not exposed to me. So I just want to make it clear that my signature on that piece of paper does not show the support for that project, but just acknowledge and I was there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, right now, are you in favor, in opposition, or an interested party?
But to be quite honest, with what I'm seeing and what I've realized for my own interest, as well as my wife, I am in opposition, obviously.
I'm going to ask your wife the same
Sure.
question. So
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Lera, if you don't mind me asking you the same question.
Well, I hate to sound like the president because, obviously when I went along, I didn't know that it was exceeding code, and codes are one thing, and I think that, codes are things that have to be taken into account by you guys.
And this is the reason we're here. They're
Yes,
going through the
right.
process to get some relief from the strict application or provision of the
Yeah,
code.
and I would hate for the Wheelers not to have, a beautiful home. But I am in opposition of I am in opposition as far as it goes, as I do not want a top balcony that.
So your main
goes
issue
into
now is your privacy.
My privacy.
Okay.
So,
And those are some of the things that our design review board may be able to address or take care of. And I wouldn't stop your communication with the Wheeler
absolutely.
here, because the architect may be able to do some kind of buffer or something with your design to give them
Yeah.
some protection, and then we can make this thing,
No,
happen
and
or what.
absolutely. As I
Okay.
said, we've been in the neighborhood. We're friends with the Wheelers, and but we're just basically, wanting to make sure that our concerns are taken into account.
Yes, and I thank you for coming and expressing your concerns. So, okay, is there anybody else here who would like to speak in? Did you fill out a green card? Oh. Not this one. Why don't you just come over and let me see.
Come on. Did you find it? Goldsmith?
You are the gentleman who wrote the email.
Oh, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Andreas Goldschmidt. I'm a friend of Laurent, who resides at 675 Luton Drive. Laurent asked me for some guidance and some help in regards of the variance. Due to the nature of my profession, I'm a director for facility development and construction design, and have to deal with local and state government and authorities on a consistent basis.
3 minutes, Shanas, please.
Correct. In regards of this, I can completely emotionally detach from the issues between neighbors or friendship. I'm just going what the city fathers have in mind when they wrote the municipal code for Glendale, as well as the zoning requirements and the zoning plan for Glendale, of which this house is in an R1 zoning that limits the floor ratio to 0.3. This house, or 699 Luton Drive, has received a variance for an increase in 1992,
A building permit.
a building permit to increase at that point to a ratio which is currently 0.447, which is already beyond the zoning requirement for zone R1. According to Glendale's municipal code, and I want to speak to your reference that a building permit was pulled in 92 and in 95 in reference to your foundation and everything else. It clearly states in the municipal code, chapter 30.41, article 010, a variance granted by the city shall automatically terminate after 2 years. You can apply for another 1-year extension. So whatever happened in 92 and 95 is a moot point right now, because it terminates according to the...
They didn't have a variance, and
Yeah,
I'm just,
but
it was a
the foundation
building
is in place that they are touching right now. The variance of the
No,
foundation.
there was no variance.
Well,
There was a building
Building
permit
permit.
pulled
Which one?
because the code changed to change the floor area ratio after 92 and 95, so they got caught in that change. Okay.
okay. And that speaks also.
And that's already
and that
dead.
also speaks for the height of the building.
It's a dead issue, so, yeah, go
That
ahead.
is true. So when did the code change to 0.3 and 28 feet height?
I think the code changed in 2000. It's in your report, I think. Keep going. You don't want to lose your
Well,
time.
you're stating something that is not reflected in the code of when the code changes, according to your website. Basically, what I'm saying is, I consider the house, according to your current code, as a non-conforming house, given
It
the
is.
restriction of
Right.
zoning RN, and in the code, under article, which you already read, 30.60.033, a non-conforming house cannot have an additional variance in place. So the request for variance should be denied based on municipal code requirements that a non-conforming house can't have an increase in floor footage.
You're very correct that they cannot add another square footage without going through this variance process. And that's why we're here, through the public hearing process, because they wanted to get an exemption from
Correct.
that limitation.
And the exemptions for adding square footage are clearly outlined in the code under what circumstances the city can
Exactly.
add non-conforming uses to an existing non-conforming. And under the letters A to
D,
L of variances,
A through D, there are 4 findings.
kind of hard to find anything that explains their need to increase square footage, because frankly, what the code says, the purpose of a variance is to make sure that the owner of the house shall not be, not be deprived of privilege commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zone and vicinity. This house is
Okay.
already bigger than the majority of the neighbors' houses for square footage, and certainly higher than everybody else's house.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition? Okay, and now it's the time for Ms. Elizabeth Wheeler.
Hello, Ms. Fuentes.
Good morning.
Thank you for seeing us.
Just give me your name and address for the record.
Okay, Elizabeth Wheeler, 669 Luton Drive.
Okay.
I want to take into consideration everything that our neighbors have said, and I totally agree with them. When we moved into our house 21 years ago, that's the main reason why we moved there, is because it was actually a very private house, and I call us mountain folks versus sidewalk folks, because sidewalk is much more communal. Mountain area homes are much more private in their actual layout. What we have proposed, I think, because their home is orientated in one way and ours is in another, you can see it in that aerial shot there, we really took into consideration, because we like our privacy just as much, and that would be something very much a part of our design, and I agree with you as far as making it so that there would be total privacy on each side. As far as the square footage, yes, you're right, that's why we're here, because it is a house that is large in square footage, but low in function as far as what modern homes now have. So that was the other reason why we have proposed this this renovation, as well as the fact that we've had the actual layout for the concrete there for almost 20 years now, and we ran out of money back in the day, and now we're, well, it's still not like we're rolling in the dough, but the fact is that we do have a little bit more of a nest egg to help us with this and to keep it our home for the rest of our lives, basically. So we would do nothing to actually hurt the quality of our home. And thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Okay, last call for Mr. Wheeler. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Closing comments, Ms. Yepremian? And I'm going to ask you one question also. Did you do a survey of the existing floor area ratio within the neighborhood?
No, we didn't for this process, but that will be required for the design review
Right,
application.
because I'm sure they will.
Yes.
If you can provide that, I would, definitely add it to the file.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Fuentes. Again, as Ms. Wheeler already pointed out, the angle, you can see the subject property highlighted, and the gray roofed area is the neighbor's house and the direction it's in. And of course, during the design review process, as well as the project architect and the Wheelers will work with the neighbors. And again, through the design review process, they will be addressing the privacy issues for the top deck area. In terms of let's see. In terms of Mr. Goldsmith's comments, I would like to clarify that this property or this project never obtained variances before in 1992, 1995. At the time, there were no hillside code requirements for FAR or height. Obviously, the building was built in 1933 under different code requirements. And again, they do have the right to file for any type of a variance that they wish to. There is a reason why a variance process is in place in the code, either a variance or a conditional use process. Those are discretionary approvals by the city, and it's clearly established in the code. Again, the burden of proof is on the applicant. The 4 findings were provided with the supporting materials and exhibits for your consideration, and we hope that you render a positive decision.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. Thank you all very much for coming. Our next case is variance 2009-005. Location is 524 Sinclair Avenue. Applicant is Hillside Repair and Drilling, care of Ken Depp. Property owner is Ed Bannigan. This is an application for standards variance to allow a retaining wall to exceed the allowable height located at 524 Sinclair Avenue in the R1R Restricted Residential Floor Area Ratio District Number 1, described as Lot B, parcel map number 1397. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments. Fire Prevention Engineering, one of their code requirements is maintaining the emergency access to rescue windows for a retaining wall. Okay. And from maintenance services, that just we want to make sure that any existing trees are protected and properly taken care of, 20 feet within. Okay, there are 2 small live oak trees, but not under the protection street. Okay, trees and indigenous tree ordinance. So you're okay with that. Okay, and the case planner, Brad Collin, is not here, so I'm just going to quickly go through his analysis and see if there's anything of major concern. Is this still a duplex? Duplex, okay. And the reason for the request is in order to contain the failing slope of the hillside above the residence. And there's a grade elevation change which is approximately 94 feet from the street level to the top of the property and about 74 feet from behind the rear house to the top of the property. Therefore, staff also consulted with Building and Safety Department, and the other alternatives given was to regrade the hillside, which is something we really discourage property owners from doing. And So this is a granite, solid, is it granite slope or hillside? Okay. Okay, and per engineering and building department's input, the proposal would be the most effective way to retain the hillside and protect the homes below and above. Okay. Therefore, staff believes that along with the conditions listed by building and engineering section, that the 4 findings for the variance could be made, and staff recommends approval of the variance. And do you have a copy of the staff report? Okay. So you're aware of the 3 conditions that he added in here. Okay, so that's that. And to present the case, Ken Deppe. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, what we have here is a landslide.
Why don't you give me your name and address for the record?
My name is Ken Deppe, D-E-P-P-E. The address is 933 Lawrence, Placentia. And I'm the owner of Hillside Repair and Drilling. And these houses were built in 1932 and 36, so they're pretty non-conforming, built into the hillside, which wouldn't be permitted now, but we've got them. In 2005, we had unprecedented rains that brought down a portion of this hill right into the back of the residence. I think you can see by the photos on the right that it was quite an extensive failure came into the house. So it's tight, it's very tight. And as staff recommended, there's not a lot of options. If I could come back there and point out a few.
Sure, why don't you?
Is there a point?
Right here.
As you see, the hill's very steep behind there. We're going to come in with a wall that protects the residents and brings up the issue of from fire access. There'll be an open space behind the wall so that there will be safe access through the windows and the doors from behind. I think from the public standpoint, because we're going higher than code, is the view from the road or looking through here. The only thing that you're going to be able to see is about this much of the wall, and because the houses are pretty tight and the bulk of the wall is behind a 2-story house, so you'd almost have to stop to see it. I think if you look at it, that view doesn't quite give it. Well,
You got to get a picture of that.
right here is. Oh, this is an artist's conception. Okay. So this is what they're going to see is just this. The street is out here, and they're just going to go past, and so this distance right here is 6 feet. So it's a very, very poorly, or not very visible from the street. This is another view back in, and right now there's a landslide there.
Rocks inside.
So I think, and again, you can see it better here. You're just going to see this little portion of the wall. So we don't, there's not a lot of other options. It's going to be, a decent-looking wall, and we don't have any other way to approach it without, like they said, a massive earthwork or some other larger project that would entail the hillside.
I really see this as more of a safety issue, and it's got to be done. So.
There's no other way. They didn't choose to have a landslide. It's not like it's a new building project where they're trying to gain some backyard space. So it's what it is.
So you said the buildings were constructed back in 1932, and the other one was 36.
Right.
So which one is this?
I don't know.
32 or the 36? 32. So this is the older. Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition? Did you fill out one of these? Okay, go ahead. There you go. Ed Bannigan.
Bannigan, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So first and foremost, for any of my neighbors that are maybe watching this or going to view it later, I want to apologize for this long ongoing nightmare, the eyesore that this property's been since November of 2006. I was interrupted on a family vacation with a phone call that you'll flash to the...
Oh, I set the mouse over
This
there
here?
for you. If you get down on the podium. Okay.
So where were you when you got the call?
I was
While
in,
you're trying to sort out the
I was in
mouth.
Seattle when I got
Oh,
my
okay.
neighbor. Wait,
Not working?
Thought you were somewhere in Europe.
I wish.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, I was interrupted on a vacation that notified that the hill had slid behind this property. It's been a long, arduous process of trying to resolve the challenges of understanding the material that's in the hill. It's decomposed granite. You can see in this picture, actually the one that you were just on, this is what
Yeah.
the house looked like in November 2006, where the hill literally slid into the building. So you can see it does present a significant safety issue within the property. This to date has cost me tens of thousands of dollars. It's cost my neighbor tens of thousands of dollars. Even with insurance help, both of us are out of pocket a significant amount of money, and it's growing for me on a monthly basis. You go to the next slide. I want to show, this is the view of the house. My neighbor is the house to the left, mine to the right. And you can see there is actually tree and foliage that would be blocking the view of the wall. There's actually another picture that shows that even better if you'll go to the next. You can see that this wall will be virtually invisible to any neighbors. We're going to make it decorative as possible. We're going to, it won't be concrete block. It'll be split-faced, I think, is what we agreed to do. So if you'll skip to the next slide. This is how steep the hill is. You can see it's not like a 5-foot retaining wall could hold that back. So the hill continues to fall as we speak, and every rainstorm, more of it comes down. So it's pretty urgent that we get started on this as soon as possible.
When did this happen?
In November of 2006.
2006?
2006, yes.
3 years ago?
Almost 3 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So
The
what?
challenge was that the cost of this retaining wall was close to $140,000, and the cost of the damage to the building is significantly ahead of that. So, and the cost of lost rents and everything, it's been just, it wasn't something I could afford to fix.
Okay.
So, so we had to work with the insurance company to get help from them. So if you go to the last slide that I've got, I only put this up to show that the whole street is really in a valley, right? So any one of my neighbors could have this same problem at any given time. I mean, the slope behind all of these hills is very steep, so my house is the first one here to the right, as you can see. So it's our intent, I think this is what the variance product, this is what the variances exist for. A 5-foot wall would not be anywhere, we've looked at every option, it wouldn't do anything. So, the 14 to 15-foot wall with proper drainage and decoration, I think, is, as soon as we could get started, we sure appreciate your support on that.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much. And just to let you know, on cases like this, I don't know how ready you are to pull the permit or to go through plans checks. I have allowed, as a matter of fact, you're one of those cases. In an emergency basis, I have allowed applicants to go through the plans check process just to expedite the obtaining of the building permit. And the 15-day waiting period, you can do a parallel while we're waiting. If someone is going to appeal it or what, you can go ahead and do your plans check also. Okay? If that will save you some days or something.
I had to wait for 2 months to even apply for a permit because of this variance.
Yeah. I wish I could have talked to you earlier. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and get ready to process your building permit. So, thank you very much for coming. Our last case is variance 2009-010. Location is 1420 South Central Avenue. Applicant is Rodney Khan of Khan Consulting. Property owner is Glendale Memorial Hospital and Health Center. This is an application for a standards variance to eliminate the existing required landscape planner and to pave over that portion of the street setback along Los Feliz Boulevard to the north of the Glendale Heart Center and Emergency Room, located at 1420 South Central Avenue, and commercial CGMS zone, described as lots 9 through 16, portions of lots 1 through 4, and portion of lots 17 through 20 of tract number 2924, and portion of lots 5 to 7, Block 3, Vine Cottage tract. And let me from Water and Power. All water valves, meter boxes, vaults, and backflow preventers or devices must be relocated and set to finished grade when necessary, if necessary. From Environmental Administration. The practice of placing concrete over open soil planters is contradictory to the recently enacted NPDES storm water pollution regulations that will require maximizing permeable to non-permeable ratios for all building projects. We ask that a specific health and safety or code violation be provided to justify this action. So please contact them, Jake Amar. I couldn't read his handwriting. Okay, no other communications to present the case. Ms. Villas, hematitis.
Yes, good morning, Ms.
Morning.
Fuentes. The subject site currently features an approximately 416,000 square foot medical and health center located at 1420 South Central Avenue. And the hospital is bordered on the north by Los Feliz, Laurel Street to the south, Central Avenue to the west, and an alley to the east. The standards variance request is for the paving over of a street setback and the elimination of the existing required landscaping planter along Los Feliz Boulevard. Code requires that all areas not occupied by building, parking, and other incidental commercial activities be fully and permanently landscaped with live plant materials. This is according to the South Brand Boulevard specific plan. And again, the property is located in the commercial general medical services. This would be the CGMS zone. And the street setback in this particular zone is 5 feet. So it would require essentially a 5-foot landscaping buffer. The subject street setback area previously featured a landscaping strip and inside a landscaping planter that was 3 feet high and 3 feet 4 inches wide. The landscaping planter was constructed at the same time as the adjacent Glendale Heart Center building, and this was back in 1992. Based on submitted documentation, as part of the record, there were problems with landscape drainage, which led to water leakage into the rooms below the grade. The affected rooms were essentially the cath labs, the MRI rooms, and the control rooms. In 2004, due to leakage issues, the MRI facilities actually had to be relocated into a trailer in the front parking lot along Central Avenue in order to continue on an uninterrupted operation. The landscaper planters have now been left empty, the dirt and landscaping removed, and the area appears to be under construction. There is an active building permit, and this is quote-unquote pile and steel plate shoring system to facilitate the waterproofing of the basement walls of the Glendale Memorial Hospital MRI facility. And this is building permit BBP 2009-0383, and this is for the area below the existing planters. In the application submittal, the applicant contends that the approval of the variance would eliminate an ongoing hazard condition at Glendale Memorial Hospital, which is a vital full-service hospital and urgent care facility serving the general Glendale area. The applicant also writes that the proposed hardscape solution would benefit the public welfare by keeping the adjacent essential medical uses fully operational. Furthermore, according to the submitted findings, the rerouting of the roof drains and re-engineering of the irrigation lines have not been successful in eliminating the problem, meaning the leakage from the planters. The applicant proposes to install decorative hardscape, tan-colored scored concrete in place of the planters. The submitted detailed landscaping plan, this would be sheet L1 directly behind you, indicates that the wall is being eliminated and the sidewalk apparently extended over the eliminated planter area. Based on the requested variance, the requested variance does not appear to be merited, despite the past efforts to reroute the drainage system and irrigation lines, that they fail to eradicate the leakage problem, and especially when the affected rooms below are vital to the operation of the hospital. Granting the proposed variance would be contrary to the objectives of the the objectives of the ordinance, which is to provide a landscaping buffer between the street and the building. While the applicant cites poor construction reasons for removing the existing landscape planter as outlined, the request to entirely pave over the street setback area with tan scored concrete and not provide any landscaping whatsoever, not even in the form of potted plants, appears excessive and unreasonable. Poor construction is not a valid reason for granting a variance. There's nothing unique about the topography or the configuration of the site. It's purely rectangular and has been fully developed. And the site is not physically any different from any other site zoned in the CGMS, the Commercial General Medical Services Zone. Staff believes, therefore, that the that there's insufficient information in the variance findings, as well as the submitted application materials and plans to justify granting the applicant's request to fully remove the existing landscape planter along Los Feliz Boulevard, north of the Glendale Heart Center and Emergency Room. Staff's recommendation ultimately would be to deny the variance. If the zoning administrator believes that all 4 positive findings can be made, staff recommends that large pots, minimum dimensions of 24 inches by 24 inches by 24 inches, with live landscaping, preferably drought-tolerant small trees, climbing vines with trellises, or tall vertical shrubs, be placed at a minimum of 10 feet on center atop the proposed paved setback area. The pot should be installed with a drip irrigation system, and the paving materials should be specified in the conditions of approval. Such a solution would seem to be an attempt to provide some landscaping as specified by the South Grand Boulevard specific plan and zoning code, while allowing the removal of the existing problematic planters and corresponding leakage problems. That concludes staff's presentation. There was quite a bit of documentation presented by the applicant in regards to the leakage problems. We received 1 telephone call, and this was solely to inquire what the status is and what the conditions are of the variance request. Other than that, there were no letters of opposition or in support of the project. The applicant, Rodney Khan, is in the audience to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's see. Mr. Rodney Khan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes and city staff. My name is Rodney Kahn. My offices are located at 1111 North Brand Boulevard, Suite 403, here in the city of Glendale. The Glendale Memorial Hospital is a very important and very essential part of our community. I'll give you a little bit of background and then talk about why we're at where we're at here today. 2007, 2008, and 2009, this hospital was rated as one of the top 50 hospitals in the entire country. The reason I say that and why is it important here today, it's important because this hospital does a very good job of saving people's lives. Part of that is this heart center and the emergency room, which is what we're talking about here today. The planter area, and I think it was described very nicely by Velia, the planter area is directly north, adjacent to the sidewalk. It's been in existence since 1992. There has been problems with leakage for many, many years. The hospital, to their credit, has spent upwards of $700,000 to date trying to fix, repair, re-engineer, relocate irrigation lines, do everything in their power to try to maintain that planter area out there. It makes no sense to them, it makes no sense in general for this to continue to occur. As was pointed out by staff, there are very essential, very important rooms that are beneath these planters. They're not closets, they're not storage rooms, they're MRI rooms, there are also cath labs, there are laboratories. These rooms have been shut down as a result of this leakage problem that cannot be repaired. The last 17 years has experienced many different things, growth in our community, this hospital facility, what it's looking at doing. These planter areas that have been examined and re-examined and repaired and refixed, as was pointed out. There is currently, right now, construction taking place trying to waterproof this area. The area in question is about 3 feet, and it's directly in front of what is the vehicle parking for the emergency room. I have some photographs I've taken, and I'll get to the findings as well. I know I have a certain fixed period of time. I have some photographs that I've taken for 2 purposes. One is it shows landscaping along Los Feliz Road, both looking east and looking west. And there is ample and sufficient landscaping along Los Feliz Road, which you'll see in these photographs. The second thing is there are also street trees in the public right-of-way that will continue to exist when we put in our decorative hardscape. And I'll give those to you now, if I can. The second small group of photographs that I've taken is related to the existing facilities as they are right now, to show you the extensive work, the construction, and the waterproofing that's taking place as a result of what these planters have damaged over the years. If we could maintain landscaping in these planters, we would. The problem is that we cannot. And we can't continue to have situations where year after year there's problems, that rooms are closed down, and there's enormous expense associated with this. These are very, very essential services. It's important to note, and in those photographs, that only a portion of the existing landscaping along Los Feliz will be removed. Not all of it, simply a portion of it. We've introduced or suggested decorative hardscape. If it is not to the city's liking for a decorative hardscape in terms of the coloring or the materials, we'd be happy to change that. We are specifically directed not to reintroduce any type of irrigation, drip irrigation, any type of lines, any type of water source into this area. Any hardscape feature we would be happy to do. What I'd like to do is I'll take my time to go over the findings very briefly, and then obviously if you have questions at any time, I'd be happy to answer them. The strict application of the provisions of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. I've already talked about this condition, this existing hazardous condition, and what the results have been, and how the hospital has tried time and time again, and at great significant expense to correct this. In terms of continuing to maintain this planter landscaping, it would be inconsistent, and it would create a practical difficulty in that we would continue to go down the same path we had for the past several years. There are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved. I would disagree with staff. I think there is exceptional circumstances. I think the size of the hospital, being several acres, is exceptional for this zone and location. I think the use as a hospital, this is a very different use than any of the uses in this zone or any of the uses in this area. This is a life-saving matter. This is not an aesthetic issue or an architectural issue. This is a life-saving issue. The third item as it relates to the granting of the variance being materially detrimental, if it is not granted, it would be extremely detrimental to the hospital itself. This is a facility that's operated for the past 80 years in our community. This is one of the jewels of the Jewel City, if you will. This facility is outstanding. Its members have contributed greatly to our community. Its nonprofits and charities and everything else that can be brought there. This is something that they've looked at, they've studied, we've seriously considered, they've looked at every option that they could possibly look at. This is not something that something happened and it was fly by night and they're just offering this up as a fix. Quite the contrary. Lastly, the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. I think the objectives of the ordinance are to create an aesthetically pleasing environment. Absolutely. And that's what we're wanting to continue to do. I think the objectives of the ordinance also are to have functional, essential hospital facilities in our community, and not to have a portion of them closed down for extended periods of time and at great, great expense. Anyway, I'll conclude my remarks. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I also have the facilities manager with me here as well.
I have no question at this
Thank you very
time.
much.
So, is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support? Okay. Why don't you give it that? Thank you. Okay.
Hello.
Give me your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. My name is Edward Lord. I'm the Director of Facilities at Glendale Memorial Hospital and Health Center. The reason for me being here today is to talk about, Vilya mentioned the physical difference in the property. There's no physical difference. I actually am very opposed to that decision that she made, because the physical difference is that the MRI, the CT scanner, all that parts of our facilities are below grade. Most of the other buildings in this area are above ground. It's not below grade. We've had significant water issues in the entire Heart Center building. I have a report that I'd like to share with you. Actually, I have a couple. This report shows the amount of pressure of water that's pushed into our basement. In general, it's around 5 pounds per square inch. In the general vicinity of the MRI suite, it's around 19.1 pounds per square inches that's pushing through our basement flooring.
These are the excess PSIs?
Yes.
Okay.
In the basement in general, there is a employee safety issue that's created by the water that's pushing through our floors and walls. When we renovated the MRI area, it used to be a cath lab. The north-facing wall, which is the wall exactly to the north of Los Feliz, that wall was filled with mold, and the west wall, which is the wall that's going up to that driveway, was also filled with mold. The only way we found out that there were mold in this area is because we started construction and we had to tear out all the existing walls that were there. When we found out there was a problem with mold intrusion into the building, we came to the city, and that's when we started the project of redoing the wall that was part of the outside planner. This project has gone from about $200,000 to almost $400,000 because of the city required shoring that costs an additional $80,000 on this job. All of the rooms that are in the basement, MRI rooms, have what they call trays inside the rooms. That's where all the cables go into the room that attaches to the MRI and cath labs. And
You're going to have to speak over there.
MRI and cath labs. The raceways that the cables go in for that MRI incident, all those cables had to be replaced at over $200,000. As a facility, we just can't keep, trying to fix and trying to resolve this problem of water intrusion into our building. Might I add, too, that the LA River is less than a mile away from our facility, and the water table is essentially very high in that area. And because of the water table being so high, that's part of the water pushing up into the buildings at the high rate of pressure that we've tested. When the new construction company, PCW, in doing the re-excavating to reseal the exterior wall, they're running into water the whole time they're going down. And that is why, as a facility, we're strongly opposed to putting any water in that general vicinity. because you don't know that there's a problem of any leakage of any kind until it shows up in the buildings. And by that time, it's too late and it's super expensive. And in essence, we can't keep going down this road. Thank you very much for hearing us.
Have you cut all the water supplies or water lines to that side of the building?
Yes, we have. We have even, we found out that when they built the building originally in 1992, all the drains from the roof came down and dumped into that planter
Into that
also.
side, yeah, side.
And so we have rerouted those.
Okay.
And that's the black pipe. When you look at that
Oh, yeah, I saw
photograph,
that.
yes, that's the black pipe. And that's temporary until we redo this.
So you're trying to catch all the drainage
We're trying to catch
temporarily,
all of it.
and then you're going to reroute them
We're
somewhere
going to
else.
reroute it somewhere else. Yes, as best we can.
Okay,
Thank you
you. Okay, since there's nobody here to speak in support or in opposition, any closing comments?
There's only one thing I'd like to add, really two things. Once again, Rodney Kahn, you mentioned, Ms. Fuentes, as part of the comments about dealing with both water and power, which we will, and also with environmental. And in particular, you said Jake Amar for the NPDES
Right.
stormwater pollution resolutions to justify
I think
this.
he has to know the
Right.
existing conditions.
And we'll be happy to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Closing comments, staff? Okay, we're okay. I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. And I'm closing the public hearing at 10 after 11. Thank you very much for coming.